Hi, welcome to my channel. This is part of the Full Monty disassembly of the Mossberg Maverick 88 combo. And today I'm going to show you how to disassemble the trigger housing and the bolt. But due to the how difficulty it is to reassemble the trigger housing, I will show you how to reassemble. This is one of the most difficult reassembly I've ever done, and the other one is the GSG-16. So word of caution, if you're not used to disassembling trigger housing, don't start. Okay, so it's going to be pretty long, so let's start with the most difficult one, and that's the trigger housing. First, release the hammer, okay, and make sure there's the safety right there. And the next thing you do is there's a pin right here. It's the hammer pin, and take a punch and push the hammer pin. In this particular case, it doesn't make any difference whether it's left to right or right to left, okay? I'm sure other model is different. So you just push it like that, okay? And I always like to use a punch, so therefore I could, it kind of takes the place of the pin, and then I can slowly pull the punch out, okay? And then turn upside down, and that is the spring, hammer spring, and the hammer plunger. And this is the hammer spring pin, okay? And then when you shake this, the hammer spring guide would come out, okay? And this little notch tells you it goes back downward position. And then you might as well remove the hammer while you're at it. Again, it doesn't make any difference whether you go right to left or left to right. And just push right through and pull the hammer pin out. Now slowly pull the punch back out and note where the position of the hammer is, okay? And just pull it out like this. The bottom side of the hammer has a groove, so take note of that. There is two non-removable pin on the hammer, okay, but the guide goes on the top one like that. Okay, so the next one you remove would be the this is called the action stop, okay, or action release. And the way to do that is push this pin out, okay, and there's two springs, one on the left side and one on the right side, okay? So you do like that, push it out, hold it, pull the pin out. Now try to group them together, okay? Because some of these pins looks very similar. So this is the spring for the action release. And then to remove this, I'll have to push it up like this, and then bring it out like that. Okay, this is what it looks like. And there's still a spring on inside that got released. It goes back this way, upside down. Okay, the next one is I'm removing the hammer. Not the hammer, the trigger, okay? And this is the trigger pin. And when you do that, the disconnector will jump out at the same time, because it's sort of all kind of together. And if I pull the trigger, you can see where it is going. See, this is part of the trigger right? You see, this trigger is moving up, but while it's moving up, it's also pushing the disconnector forward, and when it goes forward, it pushes against this sear. The sear is right there. So let's push this out like that. And let's group this on this side. And when you pull the punch out, make sure you put your hand over so the string doesn't fly out. And this is the trigger. Okay. And there is a tiny spring that's behind the trigger. This is the disconnector, and the disconnector goes, see the little stud? It goes on this side, like that. And this is the disconnector spring, and it actually goes below the sear. So you're going to lift up the sear and pull this out. Okay. Now, next thing to remove is the sear. So you can have a better look, and you can see the sear. There is a spring. One end comes up, leaning against this side, and the other spring is an L shape that goes behind the sear. So if I pull the pin out, it should come out like that. And here is the sear. Okay. And this is the sear spring. Now, when it comes to disassembly, it's pretty simple. Now, to remove this, it's pretty simple. As you can see, there is a pin on this side. Now, once you remove all that, basically the safety, right, just comes out. Okay, like that, simple. And the spring that holds the disconnector is basically holding that in. So I'm just going to push it back in. Right, so that's pretty simple when it comes to disassembly. Now the hard part is the reassembly, and that is the reason why I'm doing the reassembly, because normally I don't. Normally the reassembly would be the reverse, but because this is so difficult, I decided to do it. I am back. Now when it comes to reassembling, I strongly suggest you use a vise, okay, and use 2 lamps. You need 2 lamps and 2 sharp punches. This is the sear. The cut goes on the right side of the trigger housing, and the spring goes on the left side of the sear, and that L shape goes in front. Okay, and then the straight one goes on the bottom. Now, to keep it from moving around, I like to use a dental floss. I used to like to tie it, okay, like that. So it looks like this. Now I'm going to slip it in there and hope everything stays together. Just drop it in like this. Okay, and use the punch and make sure that it's going to be a little tricky. Yep, I'm gonna hold it down, and then yep. Okay, now I got through the spring and through the sear. Now I could pull up on this sear and make sure everything is good. Yes, it is. It's moving just fine. And the spring then in front, the L shape is still in front, and the straight is against this side of the wall, so which is good. So now I'm ready to put in the pin. Now I'm sliding the pin, and I'm trying to figure out it goes into the sear. I'm not going to remove, yep, it just went through the sear. Now I can, as my pin pushing out the punch, I gradually pull back on the punch while the pin is going through. And there it is. There. Now I can pull, and you can see the sear has some tension, right? So now I could release or remove the floss, dental floss. See, that's pretty fast. Now I have to take a closer look. See, now it has to be. This is the sear. Note that the spring, the L shape, is on top or in front of the sear, and the straight one is against the wall right there. And if I were to put my screwdriver underneath the sear, I can pull it up. You see, so it is working just fine. After the sears is installed, you put in the disconnector spring under the sear, and to do that you have to lift up the sear and slide the spring underneath it. Okay, all the way like that. Okay, and then you put in the disconnector by raising the sear again. This time this hook goes into the cut on the right side of the sear like this, like that. Okay, raise this on a 40 degrees and put the disconnector spring underneath the disconnector like this, like that. See, and push it down, and make sure you're still pushing down and forward at the same time, like that. Make sure you have this tension down and to the front. Okay, the next thing goes in is the trigger spring goes into the trigger. Now here's the trigger spring. Now I have bent it already, so be careful when you put it in. When it's installed, you don't bend it. Okay, try to move it straight in rather than in an angle, otherwise I'm going to end up bending this trigger spring. Now slide it in. Now I also marked, see that stud hole on top. I put a pencil mark so I know what that is. So I'm going to slide this down, go straight down, like that. Now move it in. Now remember, I marked the hole where it is. I can't see it. So, am I close? Yes, I think I'm very close. Just let me jiggle the hammer. There it is. Now hold it tight. Okay, it's in. Okay, now make sure, use this punch, put it through the spring and through. That's it. Now I'm going to put the pin in. I'm going to slowly, gently push the punch out. Okay. Okay, I want to make sure the spring is in, the disconnector is in properly, and the hammer spring is in properly. Not the hammer, the trigger spring in properly. Yep, it's working fine. See, when I pull the trigger, this part goes up, the forward goes forward, the disconnector, and it pushes on the sear. Okay, next is the action stop. Okay, has two springs. This is my fourth try putting the bolt release in. Can't say it's a lot of fun. Okay, so start again. This goes like this. Okay, and it doesn't even sit properly. It just doesn't want to sit in that position. All right, like that. Now I'm going to slide it in. See, it doesn't want to sit. It just doesn't want to sit. Very aggravating. This is my fifth try. I almost got it before on take 3, but it slipped out. Okay. I'm going to slide this in. At the same time, I'm going to have to make sure I hook this. See, it snapped out of place. Okay, that's okay. I might as well get a flooring nail, hook, and I'll make sure the longer arm is on the right side and the shorter one hooks up. Now I gotta make sure that this arm stays on the right side, and it is. Okay, this is the way it's supposed to be. Now, the fun part is this spring goes down like this. Okay, and it goes in that. I'm going to put it over the punch like that. Push it over the punch. Nope, it's not going in. Okay, it's over the punch now. Good. No, it's not. Okay, it's over the punch now. Okay. Let me put this in first, hold the spring in and into. Now I'm not finished with that spring. I need that hook. I need to pull that spring up and over the action bar like that. See? I need to pull it over like here. That's it. Now I gotta slowly push the pin over all the way through and not mess up. Last few times, by the time I got to this spring, it popped out. And that's the bugger. It's not going all the way. There it is. Whew. Finally. Whew. Took me 5 tries. Of course, I'm going to edit out the first 4. So there you go. Done. Let me make sure that is correct. This is moving properly. Spring loaded. And the hammer is good. And the spring is, the sear is moving forward. Okay. Next. Now it's all easy from here on. This is the hammer. Okay. Smooth surface goes forward. There's a cut. There's a channel here, and the channel goes where the spring is in the middle. Remember that long arm? Yes, that's where it goes. It goes like this. Like that. Now again, you need to use, I got that. Now I'm going to use this and slide it in. And it does go in there. Right. Now that was the easiest one. But the other two, now let me release that. Now it's time to put it in the hammer guide. Remember the cut? There's a cut at the bottom that goes in. Okay, actually you can just slide it in here. And when it comes up over here, it goes on the top. Okay. Let me make sure I'm in. Yes, it's in. Now once you got the spring guide onto the hammer, and remember it's the top pin that you have to connect to. Now we're ready to put in the hammer spring and the plunger. Plunger goes in first, right? Now followed with the hammer spring. Okay. And it should be about here. Now put it in a vise, because you have to apply pressure on it and get the hammer spring pin ready. Insert it into the hole. Like that. And with a screwdriver, push the hammer spring past the hole, like that. And then start pushing the pin over. Like that. I'm in. Now you have to test it. Down, pull, put your hand on the hammer, and it does work. Okay. And this is the action bolt release is working. Everything looks good. Okay, we're finally done. Phew. Good. Next, the bolt. Okay, let's start the bolt disassembly. Let's get rid of the bolt lock first. Drift from left to right. Okay, let me secure it properly. Okay. This is what the lock pin looks like right there. Remove the punch and then push out the lock straight up like this. Okay, actually up and backwards like that. Next thing to come out is the firing pin, and to do that there's a firing pin here, which I already punched out a little bit of it. You do from the bottom up. Now I don't have a punch that's small, okay, so what I'm basically using is I'm just using a small flooring nail. Just put it in that hole like that. Okay, this is the firing pin, and it slides out from the back. And then here is the firing pin spring and a washer. It goes in the back. Of course, this firing pin spring also acts as helps pivot the lock. Okay, now the last thing remaining is the extractor. It's a dual extractor, and there's two pins on either side. You just punch them down. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, I don't need to do the other side because you can see what the other side would be exactly the same. Okay, I punched out the extractor pin. It looks to be the same size as the firing pin. And I'm just going to do one side. There's no point in me doing the other side because it's identical. Once I did that, the extractor popped out. Okay, so this is where the firing pin goes into, like that, right? And it pivots on the pin, and here's the spring, and this is how small the spring is. Okay, so to put it back is just the reverse. You put everything back the reverse, and when it comes to that's basically it. Wow, this was a very difficult one. Gee, it took me like 4 hours to to disassemble and reassemble the housing, and actually the bolt is quite fast. It just took me nothing more than 30 minutes. Yeah, don't disassemble the housing, the trigger housing, unless you have to. But otherwise, thank you for joining me. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you.